Welcome to the BBB's August 2025 Lunch, Learn, and Lead. We have a great speaker on today, and we are grateful that you guys are here. And we're going to go ahead and get started with a few of our, well, if I can get it to go. There we go. All right. I'm going to start with telling you about a few things that we have here coming up at the BBB. This one, we are celebrating 40 years. Wow. And we are having a business after hours that will be here on August the 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. And we have all of our wonderful sponsors who are helping us to put this together. So if you are free, come out here. We're going to have it here, have it set up. We'll have catering done. I think it's by Montez Brothers Catering. So come out and get some good food, have some fun fellowshipping and networking with people in the community. And the next event that we'll be having is the Battle of the Businesses. That's on September the 26th. It is from 12 to 3 p.m. That's going to be the cornhole tournament. We are going to have it at Truvine. We've had it at Truvine the last couple of years, and we have had a great turnout. So if you have not registered for that, go to our website or either scan the QR code up there, and you can put your team in. I'm not sure how many we have. I think it was like 20, 25 or so, and I think we can take up to 40. So if you have a team, if you love to play cornhole, please come join us. All right, and the next Lunch, Learn, and Lead, this is for next month. This is going to be with one of our dear friends, Mr. Kim Beckham, developing future leaders. He is an awesome speaker. He's a great teacher. So if you need to help or want some information to help develop leaders within your company, this would be a great Lunch, Learn, Lead to attend. And it's going to be on Wednesday, September the 10th, again from 11:30 to 1 p.m. right here in this room. And of course, you can sign up the same way you did for this one. You can sign up for that as well. All right, and then in October, we have another one, which is presented by John Hart. He is with Source Funding, LLC. He's talking to us about smart funding decisions. So this is another great one. Sign up for that as well. We would love for you guys to come in and join us. And as you can see at each Lunch, Learn, Lead that we have some wonderful sponsors who help us, to be able to put this on for you guys. All right, this is the fun part. I wanted to start it out first with this, but I have a few giveaways. Some giveaways, and this month is International Peace Month. So the first question, whoever can answer it, I have some goodies for you. What are August zodiac signs? 2 zodiac signs. Yes, ma'am.
Leo and Virgo.
Is it Leo and Virgo?
No.
It is. It's Leo. Yes, it is Leo and Virgo. So I got something for you. The next one, on August 28, 1963, what famous speech was delivered in front of the Lincoln Memorial? Yes, sir.
Was that Mr. Dr. Martin Luther King?
That's it. What was the speech?
I
have a dream. There you go.
That moment.
Okay, and the last one, who will be the lucky recipient? What U.S. state was added to the Union on August the 21st, 1959?
Hawaii.
I don't know who said it.
Hawaii.
She said Hawaii. Okay, Hawaii it was. Good job. And I'll come around and bring you guys your gifts. So now we are up to the point where we are here. Today, we will be graced with the presence of Dr. Stan Ward. Dr. Stan Ward is a leadership coach, educator, and founder of Influence Coaching. With a PhD in leadership studies and 20 plus years of experience, he helps leaders turn conflict into collaboration. A former conflict avoider himself, Stan now equips professionals to communicate with clarity and courage. He has delivered dynamic, interactive talks across the U.S. and internationally. Please help me welcome Dr. Stan Ward.
Thank you. So what we're going to do is pull up some slides here in just a second. I'll introduce myself also as far as kind of a similar pitch to what y'all have done. So I work with leaders around issues related to conflict resolution, stress management, burnout prevention. And because for a lot of these folks, just working harder is no longer working, I partner with them so that they can have some new skills, new systems to get the results that they really want, and essentially get out of their own way. And again, one of the things I do is help folks with conflict resolution in particular. And so, yeah, let's do this. Let's see if this will. No, that's not it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I can find a play button here somewhere. That's it right there.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. So today I want to talk to you guys about this idea of how to drive the dialogue. So we're going to kind of go on a summer road trip, right? I'm just curious, how many of y'all have like a playlist for road trips? Anybody have an album or a set of songs I like to listen to? I'm just curious. Just shout them out. I'd love to hear.
Yes.
Just yes? Okay. Great.
All over the place.
That is a band, by the way. So, yeah. So the other day, my youngest daughter, recently moved to Hungary, and so we were driving to DFW Airport, and we were listening to songs, and one of the ones that came on is "Life Is a Highway." What I did not realize is that it's in one of the Cars movies. Did you guys know that? Yeah, I was thinking about the 80s version I was all excited about, but she was really into the Cars version. So, little road trip story for you. What I'd like to do is start with a little bit of a scientific poll here. I'm going to try out some new technology to keep this interactive. So, if you have your phone, if you would, either scan this QR code or you can go to slido.com and type in this number. And I would like to hear from you anonymously how you manage conflict typically, right? What's kind of your default style? You're going to get 3 options there. You may say, Stan, none of these are exactly me. That's okay. Pick the one that's closest to you, okay? We'll come back to our results in a little bit. So let me give you just a little bit of time to look that up. And I'm going to check the internet and make sure it's getting results. Oh, 4 votes already. Okay, good, it's working. Yeah, isn't that fun?
We got a lot of pleasers in this room.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are already able to see the results.
Yeah, they're right there when you vote.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let our online buddies do this as well. That'll be fun. We'll get a nice sample size. I remember in graduate school, I had to take a graduate statistics course. And one of the things my professor pointed out is if you can get the right 30 people, you can get a statistically significant sample. You just got to get the right 30. So maybe we can get 30. We got 15, we're halfway there. So I'll just call this out one more time for anybody online that's wanting to go. You can go to slido.com, type in 1152723, and you can join today's poll. We'd love to have your feedback, and we're going to get back here in a little bit to see exactly how the group responded. While that information is still coming in, though, I want to ask you a question and tell you a story. And that question is, have you ever had that experience of being stuck on the shoulder of a road? How many of y'all have experienced that? So, several years ago, one of my daughters, I will not say which one, right, so the guilty shall remain nameless, but one of my daughters was on her way to school. She was driving, may have been going a little fast, and school zones, you got to drop that speed way down, and so a local police officer pulled her over. All right, lights come on, and of course, first time this had happened for my daughter, and so she's kind of panicking a little bit, and so she's pulling over, and she notices the officer's waving at her, so she starts pulling over even more. Well, to make a long story short, the officer was waving to say, don't pull over, the road, it's soft on the shoulder. But she thought she was following the message, pulls over too far, and of course, guess what happens? She's stuck. Not only is she stuck, but she's stuck close to school, so while she's stuck there with the police officer, guess who's driving by? Right? Right? So if it wasn't embarrassing enough to be seen in front of your friends pulled over by a police officer, you're pulled over and stuck. But wait, there's more. Because the officer gets another call that he's got to respond to because it's kind of higher on the list of importance and urgency. And he basically says, look, you're going to get out of this one because I've got to go take care of this other thing. He drives off, and now my daughter is just stuck. The way she gets unstuck, she calls one of the folks at the school that she goes to, and that person ends up actually getting the football team. So if you can imagine being a teenage girl, pulled over by a police officer in front of your friends, getting stuck on the road, and then having to have a bunch of guys from the football team get you unstuck. On a scale of 1 to 10, how embarrassing do you think that is? Yeah, yes. Says someone who may know from experience, right? Oh, so embarrassing. And frustrating, right? You're stuck. You can't undo this by yourself. You don't know what you're going to do. People are seeing this. Hard conversations can be the same way. Sometimes we get in these, we know we need to have a conversation. We're not really sure how to do it, how to move forward, and so we feel stuck. And that causes frustration. And sometimes when we're in a business setting, right, because we have coworkers, they actually kind of know something's going on and that there's a conversation that needs to be had, and they're kind of like, why aren't you having the conversation? And so now you've got some embarrassment, frustration, resentment, all that stuff churning in here. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Yeah. And this really isn't, you're in good company. We'll put it that way. You're in good company if you've had that experience. So as I was preparing for this talk, I looked at a variety of sources, kind of looking for trends on conflict in the workplace. And so as I kind of averaged things out, what I saw was a trend to say basically 3 people out of 4 employees are going to report either observing or taking place in conflict in the workplace. Again, it's not uncommon. Getting stuck on the road, not uncommon. What's even more interesting, you ready for this statistic? 3 out of 4 employees, people at the workplace, also report being conflict avoiders. So, the majority of people in the workplace are either observing or involved in some sort of conflict, and the majority of people in the workplace are doing what? Avoiding it. stuck on the side of the road. And to do one better, about 1 in 4 people end up leaving their place of work because of some form of unresolved conflict. So we have conflict, we're avoiding conflict, and some people are leaving work because of unresolved conflict. Gee, what could go wrong? Right? So I also did a little more digging on this and really found out that there's a business cost to unresolved conflict as well, which makes sense. So you think about some people, the way they deal or the way they avoid dealing with conflict is sick days, right? They just don't come in. Again, for some people, they just actually leave the workplace entirely, and so now you're out the cost of replacing that person. A lot of times, unresolved conflict means people aren't committing to taking action, right? And so stuff's not getting done, and there's a cost that goes with that. I actually had the experience last year of working with a leadership team where we were actually sent to go on retreat. It was all these department managers. We were supposed to go on this retreat to help them work out some conflicts that they were having. They would not address the conflicts. They just couldn't bring themselves to it. And there's a process I take people through. We get about halfway there, and then when we finally get to the point where people would start talking about the real issues to make commitments, they'd bounce off of it and go right back to the start. They didn't have either skill, trust, there was something needed to help them break through and get past that. Again, as I was doing some research for this talk, one of the sources I suggested said, because of all the things I've mentioned, and because of how stress also impacts people and sick days and all that kind of things, you can expect unresolved conflict to cost you about $3,000 per person per year. Whether it's lost productivity, related expenses, or ended up having to replace somebody because of that conflict. So if you're in a small business and you've got 20 employees, what's it costing you per year to have unresolved conflict? About 60 grand. Yikes, right? So my hope is today to give you a very simple tool to help you cut that expense. Does that sound like a good use of our time?
Absolutely.
I think so too. Y'all ready to get there? All right, let's do it. All right, so one of the things I want to start out with is this idea of, in order to get into these kind of conversations, especially when we feel stuck, we need to have a destination, someplace we're trying to get to, right? And so when you're preparing for these conversations, which is what I recommend, again, I'm a former conflict avoider, and I thought I was a peacekeeper, or peacemaker, until I started doing I took a survey. It's an instrument I use in organizations called the Thomas Kilman Conflict Mode Inventory that helps you identify what's your typical way of doing conflict. And I discovered I was actually an avoider when I thought I was a peacemaker. And we'll talk about the cost of that here in a little bit. So one of the ways you can get unstuck with that is to be really clear on where you're trying to get to. So let me give you some examples of that. Are you ready? I'm going to give you a personal example. In the ward home, my wife and I, by the way, next Tuesday will be 30 years of marriage. Yes. Bless her. Right? What a patient woman. When we are frustrated with each other, a little bit of this, we set the destination to deal with the conversation. You ready? Because I plan to spend the rest of my life with you, I need to tell you something. Now, it took us a few years to figure that one out. But it's remarkable how that actually kind of brings the emotional energy down to where we can manage it a little better. Because we're stating why we're having the conversation. It's because I'm committed to the relationship. This conversation is not a threat. It's actually a way to help us move forward because we're stuck. Now you go, well, Stan, that's great, but I'm not married to the person I'm working with. Okay. Let me give you another story. So just last week I had a kind of a coaching conversation with someone who is a business operator. It was a fairly new business they're involved in. They've been involved in it about 3 months, and for them it was not going well. In fact, they really started to feel like they'd made a mistake. They did not want to talk to the business partner about it, though. The partner put up the cash capital. He was putting in the sweat equity to make this thing run. And the person I was coaching was talking about me. I feel like this is affecting all my relationships. Every time I see this partner, I just want to avoid him. And that's bad because this relationship is really important to me. I don't know what to do. So what he ended up doing after we had our coaching conversation is we finally came to the idea that he would go have a meeting with that business partner and basically start with, hey, this relationship is really important to me. And so I just want to check in. How is this business partnership going for you? Starting with the destination, the business relationship. This partnership is important. Let's talk about how it's going. Right? Again, one of the things that can get in the way with conflict is it activates that whole fight, flight, or freeze part of our system. And so when we set the destination and show that this is not about just getting stuck in the problem, because a lot of times with conflict, what do? We just talk about the problem. You did this, you did that. Don't start there. Start with where you want to get to. Start with the future you're trying to create. That gets you unstuck. And it can also kind of help lower that fight or flight response. Okay. So I'm going to check in on our poll before we go any further. Looks like we were able to get 15 votes. I'm going to do a quick refresh. And let's see what we came up with. Yeah, we had 15 votes. All right. So, of the three options, attack, appease, and avoid, I go on the attack 27%. Next, I appease, because I want to make sure the other person is happy, 53%. So we're just a bit over half. And then, what conflict? I just avoid the issue. 20%. About 1 in 5 of us, that's where we're going. That's important because the way conflict happens is essentially there's my agenda, my needs, what I want, and then there's your needs, your agenda, what you want, right? And when those things seem to be crossways with each other, we have conflict. If I go into attack mode, that's I'm going to win, you're going to lose. Which may feel good for me, but it can end up causing resentment for them, and then there's fallout from that. If I go into appease mode, that means, well, I'm going to lose and you're going to win. And if you continue that pattern long enough, then you start having resentment. Or if we go into avoiding, that basically, you're going to lose and I'm going to lose because we're not going to deal with it. So that's why we want to avoid those losses by starting with where we're trying to get to. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do an interactive activity. Y'all ready? What I ask is that you turn to a partner there at the table, either one person or maybe 3 of y'all, and I want you to think about a conversation you've been putting off. Oh, we're going there. It can be personal, it can be professional, all right? But I want you to think about, okay, here's this conversation I've been putting off. What is my desired destination for that conversation or for that relationship? Got it? I love that smile right now. Going, you sure about this? All right, you guys got it? Are you in? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah, thumb sideways, no response. Great, this is going to be a fun crowd. We're going to go do it anyway. So turn to your partner, and if you have to, make it up. Turn to your partner. Take a couple minutes.
Destination. So I mean, you're to reach for me. As a personal destination. Because that's your destination.
Yeah, you can choose either one, personal or business. Just one, yeah, just do one.
Preparation for your destination.
Take just another minute or two. Make sure everybody gets a chance to share. Take another minute or two.
I know you work.
Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to ask that we hit pause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, impressive. So, I'm curious, how did that experience go, setting the destination?
Good.
Good? How so?
I think that our company is on the right track, and we have maybe some different ideas on how to get to the destination.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about that, and then some personal goals on getting to the destination for those personal goals in each person's life.
Nice. So, by the way, since you spoke up first, you get a keychain with my little influence coaching logo on it, because we're talking about driving the dialogue.
Thank you.
Right?
And I need a keychain.
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, that is made in Waco, Texas, from American bison. So, yeah.
It's kind of like today.
Yeah, I'm telling you, good stuff. And then for those online, if you're concerned about the bison issue, it's actually vegan, so we're good. Okay, so I'm curious. Can you remind me your first name?
My name? Carol.
Carol. So Carol, by starting with where you were hoping to get to, how did that change the tone of that conversation?
You know, I never really looked at it that way. And so for me, it was really important to realize at my age and the length of time that I have with this company that taking the steps and meeting the goals had something to do with where I wanted to get.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, it sounds like you're seeing these actions in light of a bigger picture.
Right.
And it's an important picture.
Right.
And so it's worth taking that action.
Well, I think I'm really good at what I do right now, but I want to be the best over a bigger destination.
Okay. Yeah. Got a vision. Anyone else? What was that experience like? Was it hard? Was it easy?
It was hard, but for me, it's easy for these ladies, apparently.
Yeah. So, for being honest, I'm being honest. I'm going to underhand it though. I don't want to take anybody out. Ready? Okay. Up. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about that. What made it hard?
Well, it's the first day back to school, so I got a bunch of kids. So conflict, that's what my personal.
Oh, yeah.
There were some money issues as well, but how those can stack up. And if you're avoiding, it's kind of like the parable of the sower, If you're not looking at it, it's going to grow anyway. So you might as well pay attention to it, or you're going to have a bunch of weeds everywhere. It was kind of my little analogy.
Yeah.
Keeping the vision is important, and it said something along the lines of it's necessary. It's necessary.
You're reminding me, I heard a person present on conflict a while back, and they compared unresolved conflict to like unpaid debt. And like any debt, it acquires interest over time. It starts to snowball like you're talking about, right? And for that presenter, her point was, look, you either got to pay this debt or eventually you're going to go bankrupt. She works with leadership teams, and what ends up happening is if they don't deal with some of those conflict issues, someone's going to leave. At least one person's going to end up having to go before they can fix things. Yeah. Good, thank you. I will tell you, for me personally, again, as a person who's more naturally conflict avoidant, it helps me to, when I'm in one of these situations, to sit down and think, okay, what is the goal of the conversation? What do I need out of this? Because once I can get clear on that, it helps me chart the way forward. And so sometimes that's difficult because I'm not exactly sure what I need here. And I would encourage you to think in terms of, don't have the conversation until you're clear. Or at least sort of clear. Because then you're just left with the problem. And that's where you get stuck. Any other thoughts or observations on setting your destination and stating the desired outcome? Did anybody find any phrases that helped them do that? Okay. So what I want to encourage you to do, at the end of this, I'll have a survey for you all. It's also got a bonus item attached to it, and it's a tip sheet for driving the dialogue. So if you're looking for some word tracks and some reminders, be sure to download that tip sheet, because it'll help with that. Okay, so let's talk about road hazards. When things go wrong, it tends to go wrong because of some of the things that we measured earlier today. Attack, appease, or avoid. So, from your experience, what do you think leads people to want to attack when they get in these situations?
Hurt, fear.
Just fear? It's a fear response, or there's so much hurt that's built up? Yeah. What else tends to lead us to want to go into attack mode?
Insecure.
Feeling insecure? Yep. Can you think of anything else?
Frustrated.
Just that build up for frustration and it eventually and being on the defense. Can you see how avoiding conflict could get you to that point? Insecure, defensive, on the defense, overly frustrated. Yeah. Okay, what about the appeasing side of it? Again, attack is I win, you lose. Appeasing is you win, I lose. What can get us stuck in that mode when we're trying to deal with conflict?
You're never really clear about what the point is.
Yeah, you just
go from one issue to the other, nothing is ever resolved.
yeah. Yeah, and so maybe it's just like, I just want to get this done, let's just move on, okay, fine. Kids are masters at this, right? They just know how to wear us down. Yeah.
It's not really done if you avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so on the avoiding side, that's one of the biggest problems is you never really address the issue. It doesn't go away and it builds up that interest, that debt, that snowball effect. Yeah. By the way, there are times it's appropriate to use these modes. That I win, you lose. Look, if the building's on fire, I don't want the fire marshal to take a vote with everybody. What shall we do, guys? Right? No, get us out. Take charge. Right? When snap decisions need to be made, make the snap decision. That's part of leadership. But understand when you're managing conflict, if your default style is to always win, always go on the attack, there's a cost to that. Likewise, customer service, right? Yeah, there's a lot of appeasing that has to happen. When you're in a customer service oriented business, the customer's always right, even when they're not. And so you have to navigate that. And you have to know, well, I can't maybe agree to this request because it will put me out of business, right? I can't always give everybody their money back when they're upset about something. There has to be other ways to resolve this. We're not just appeasing. Yes, ma'am.
One thing that I learned over the years is when you're in leadership and you have to have these hard conversations, you gotta remember if you're gonna be willing to bend and do something for one, you gotta be willing to bend, do the same thing for the others. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself in a situation where, there's like favoritism and different things like that. You favor them more than me, and that's another whole ball of wax.
Sure. Yeah, and so sometimes appeasing in the moment feels good, and it deals with the frustration, but you've actually created a whole series of issues for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need another way forward. So what I would like to do is give you what I call before I give you the deal, let's do a stress check. When you think about conflict, what does that do inside? Carol's making faces.
Makes you
Carol makes the best faces. Makes you nervous, yeah.
Heart rate goes up.
Heart rate goes up, yeah.
Right. Start sweating.
Yeah,
Right.
you can, yeah.
Run, we just don't.
Sometimes you want to run away. What else?
Eat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Comfort food, please.
When I get in peak stress, I tend to just shut down.
Yeah, or just, which is another kind of avoiding, right? Yeah, yeah.
Try to convince yourself, oh, it's really not that bad. We really don't have to do this.
Disappeared.
Yeah. So, one of the things that can happen to us in avoiding conflict is we go into rumination, where it's just churning in our heads. And when it's churning in our heads is when we start getting into a lot of these stress responses, right? So, when you start to feel a lot of stress about a conversation, guess what that's telling you?
Deal with it.
This might not be right.
I may need to deal with this, right? I may need to act on it. Yeah. Act. Yeah, that's exactly it. Go from thinking about it to actually acting on it. The way to get out of rumination is when we're worrying about things in the future we can't control, beating ourselves up for things in the past that can't be undone, spinning, gets that whole fight or flight thing going that everyone's been describing with the different emotional responses. And the way you get out of that is you come back to right now. You wake up and you take action on what you can take action on. And sometimes that just means taking a pen and a piece of paper and going, all right, I may not be able to have that conversation right now, but I'm going to get clear on the destination. So then I at least have taken one step to get clearer on this. And then you can go from there. All right. So to help you navigate this, I've got 2 sentences that are going to put you into 4-wheel drive. Now remember, we said to go into the attack mode is to say, I win, you lose. Well, what's the win-lose? I win on my needs and wants, you lose on your needs and wants. Conflict happens when my needs and wants and your needs and wants seem to be crossways. Or it can even happen when we're unclear. Again, I think about my daughter's situation. Getting stuck was not so much because there were competing agendas, but it's because my daughter thought she was doing what the officer wanted her to do, but it was unclear, right? So there's 2 sentences you can use to get clear on my needs, your needs, my wants, your wants, my agenda, your agenda. That's the way you start to get unstuck. Are you ready for these 2? And again, you can download the bonus at the end, and it's got them written out for you. But it's basically this. Now, sentence number 1 is a variation on this. Here's what I need from you. Just that simple. Here's what I need from you. A couple different ways you can state that. But you're addressing what you need, what you want, what your agenda is. You're no longer avoiding at that point. Sentence number 2, ready? What do you need from me in order to make that happen? Because in doing that, you're now making space for that other person's needs, agendas, wants, issues, concerns. And once you do that, you're getting traction. You're bringing up what needs to be addressed, and you're giving yourself a chance to deal with it. Does that mean that everybody's going to get exactly what they want? No. I mean, sometimes maybe. But at least you've got a place to negotiate. And you're clear on what really matters. And until you're able to bring up what really matters in the conversation, you can't make real progress. Effectively, you're just avoiding, appeasing, maybe even attacking. All right, so let's do a real world scenario. Anybody got a scenario they want to play out. It can be totally made up. Somebody come up with a scenario that we can do this on.
You gotta tell your employee that you're gonna have to have a tough time with them.
Okay. Tough convo. Tell me a little more. We're making this up. This isn't right. But tell me a little more about the tough
Don't
convo.
call her Ashley, it's not, I'm just making up a funny name.
Yeah.
I don't even have an employee like that. But, so she comes in and she's not happy, you know, so I need her to be, you know, jovial because she's front facing.
Okay. All right. So let's test the model. What would be a way to tell Ashley what you need from her? How could you do that?
You let her know what she was mentioning, you know, what's her part of the company and how she's helping, you know, empower her, I guess.
Okay. So you start with the destination. Hey, Ashley, your role in our company is really impactful because of where you sit, and I want you to be as successful as possible there. Right. So I want you to be successful with this important position, this impactful position. That's the destination, right? And in order for that to happen, here's what I need from you when you're at the desk. How does that feel as a way to approach it?
Yeah. It's like the positive and negative coming together and you're able to kind of see it.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of the build, burn, build, compliment sandwich thing. Because sometimes that can get confusing and like people, you can almost get this Pavlov's dog response of if you get complimented, you're like, oh crap, when's the other shoe gonna drop?
But I like your first sentence. What does she need from you?
Yeah.
To get to the destination? Something's wrong.
Which is the
You're
other.
having to have this conversation with a valued employee who works the front. Has something just come up? So what do I need to do as an employer to help her get to her destination?
Ashley, because I want to see you be successful here, now here's what I need. How can I help you?
Right.
Or you draw the line.
Back and forth.
Exactly.
And so notice it's not just one or the other. If it's just this is what I need from you, that can be attack mode.
Right.
If it's just what do you need from me, that can be appeasing. We're going to bring both up in the conversation. That's the difference. That's collaboration. So here's what I want you guys to do. We've got a little bit of time. I'm going to give each row a scenario where you can experiment with this. Good? Thumbs up? Yeah? Okay. So, let's see here. So, I want you guys to pretend you got a bad customer review, which I know has never happened because you guys are just perfect, right? And so in this situation, let's say that this customer calls and they post online that your team's never returned their calls. But in reality, you've got records showing you called them 3 times. So think about how can you have that conversation, all right? Thinking about some of the things we talked about, all right? Okay, for you all, I want you to pretend that you're in a situation where you've got a vendor who keeps running late.
How would you frame that?
And because this vendor that's supplying you with goods you need to deliver to the customer keeps running late, now all your timeline is wrong. How would you have that conversation? Thinking through some of the principles we talked about, okay? So y'all brainstorm that a little bit. All right, for you all. So this will be a little different. Imagine that there's people
I want to be able to see it.
that you're supplying a service. Customers approve the service. And then when you send them the bill, they say, no, I didn't.
I believe, don't start at the bottom.
So how do you navigate that? Now, it's a little different world. See, just see any ideas.
I just call it.
All right, so you've got they're filling out their paperwork and they never give it.
Well, I really.
And because it's never given.
I really think it's.
Yeah, really. They're never filled out right.
A little account, they say $1,000 a week accounts, and there's some.
How would you have that
two
conversation?
or three of those.
Maybe you already don't have it. But play with the model. Play with the language. Talk about it. And remember, the idea is we want to set our destination, get clear on the needs.
I think I would talk to the driver, or have my, let's say it's a restaurant, and you are the timeline, he's able to timeline, because everybody's timeline. You have to have your people there, so he's gotta be there at 7 o'clock, so that your people can get the food. And maybe if he understands something, and I would give him a little grace. But I think I would give him a chance to be able to get you know, I could get on some good. And I make it real simple. But he understood that I don't have any credit until you get order. And I can't sell it to you, so what's wrong with me? So that's kind of like a chain reaction. You don't bring my food, I just want my dirty, and I'm screwed.
Per agreement.
Yeah, I'm great, but why? Very good point.
Because in that, we were just asking that question, because you have to just make a solution without needing to go like. If we want to have issue, one restaurant is one store, so, but he can be yours first and second.
Let me not be able to work with him, like you're saying, and say, you know, I'm gonna have somebody here and say, where do you go first, school? Get them their stuff, come here next, we'll have the door open ready for you. You don't have to wait till they get on the parking lot or something over. I'll have somebody here on Monday to do that.
Do this, I did.
Make it weird. It's a win-win. And then I'll keep it all documented. Because you know, nobody changes the business. I really want you to. There's no, I just don't want to lose it. I just couldn't tolerate it when
I guess just, well, I would be scenario.
and he would know that I'm switching. Next week, he would be on
Take a picture of what I think.
give him an opportunity. Have some kind of stuff. As salespeople, selling stuff to me, because if their stuff is not real stuff, I'm there and cash your wages somewhere else instead of, you know, in case I told people not be $90 should be $30. So that they can say, you're doing this, and you cheaper price, they're going to make their money down.
Let's say there's an exception to the like I think you're saying, have your name indication, but would you just see,
I'll copy and paste.
not that there's an excuse, but if there's some kind of family, medical / issue that they were having within, say like they've been really good until the last 3 or 4 times, then there's an issue like them, say, hey, what is like, you know, what's going on, like, what is the issue, is it family, or are you, you know, like, is it something else?
All right, so let me hit pause.
You don't care.
So this was an experiment where we tried to stress test the idea of these two sentences and the idea of setting the destination. Obviously, when you get into real-world situations, it's not quite as simple as just two sentences, but the principle is valid, right? So, how was that experience of stress testing this thing? So, row one, tell us about your experience.
We actually deal with situations like that every day in our place of business. So
Okay.
we just talk through things we've already been involved in.
Yeah. All right. So as you started setting the destination and talking about the magic sentences, how did that impact, or what did y'all conclude on that?
Well, I feel like overall from experience, we already have been doing those types of things purposely.
Yeah.
So we essentially framed the conversation by knowing we value you and we have been reaching out. We verified their contact information and we looked through our notes and talked about when we had reached out, but how can we help you now that you're on the phone?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Y'all are already doing it. Great. How about this row? Tell us about your situation.
Our situation was, we had a vendor delivery person who was being consistently late getting the product to us. And I think the overall was, we would ask, you know, why are you now coming in late? And me, I believe, and you just, maybe the owner of the company doesn't know that our delivery's been late all month. And so I'm one that I'll just be calling, let them know, do you want my business or not? Because when you're throwing off my whole schedule, then your employee needs some encouragement along the way to make his deliveries. If I'm late, then the person next is late.
Yeah.
So, but to have some resolution, try to talk to the driver. Maybe he had a bad morning, maybe he spilled his coffee, you know. But when it happens repeatedly, then you tend to not be so understanding.
I think we found that there's, for this situation, different ways for a solution to the problem.
Yeah.
I'll count it out.
Yeah. And again, getting clear on those needs. You know, hey, I need a consistent delivery time. I know you need consistent delivery time, business owner. So let's create a process where we're both getting what we need, right? Yeah. Okay. How are y'all? What did you guys come up with?
We had an invoice that hadn't been paid. And so the first thing we started talking about was there's always additional variables in a situation, such as was there a contract, was there an agreement? So things that aren't necessarily always, included in the scenario. But our two questions were, your invoice of July 1st is outstanding and now needs to be paid. And what additional services do you need from us to be satisfied with the work?
Yeah. Did you get what you need from us? Yeah. Great. All right. Total made up score.
Yeah, so, and we worked things out with Ashley.
Yeah.
So now
What a day. You're just gonna beat.
So Jimbo's kind of being unruly. He's a tech, filling out paperwork, but never getting it right. So we're getting some chargeback issues. So we had to handle it pretty fast. So we figured out all it takes is handing him a paper and a clipboard. So we're gonna assist, help assist him and empower him to during the day, because you got to know what you're doing each day. So helping him to reflect so that he's not missing the in-between things that cost the company.
Yeah, it almost kind of sounds like this is a situation where the guy didn't have the tools he needed. I mean, he might have a technical tool, but just a tool to keep on track of the work. And everybody does that differently, so you don't know what that person actually needs to do in the middle of it sometimes. What do you think?
Yeah, you brought us a situation that I literally deal with on the daily basis.
Yeah.
These are actual staff meetings I've had repeatedly over the years, and I do think we've done a relatively good job of approaching it, appropriate and whatnot. The one thing that I would just add to that was that I've been doing this over a long time, and what I've noticed is just because you've resolved a conflict doesn't mean it's gone forever. Consistency is key. You have to stay on top of it. So like this particular issue of techs not filling out their timesheets, it's probably about once a year we have to have this meeting and just remind them these timesheets are important for a reason. This is how we invoice. Invoices are how we get paid. That's how we pay you. Remind them this is really actually important, because much like if you have kids, if you don't say brush your teeth every single day, they ain't gonna brush their teeth every single day. Employees aren't that much different. You go remind them you have to do the timesheets accurately, consistently. They'll tend to just fall off.
Yeah, and that's why we're talking about getting unstuck and not just solving. Because we live in a world that's less than perfect. And so because of that, that's part of the grind of leadership, right? It's just knowing you're just going to have to repeat some of these things over and over. But at least there's tools to help you do it where it doesn't create quite so much drag or drain. And that's the hope. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our time together. So what I want to do is this. I want to encourage you that it's your turn to drive. We've done that a little bit with some role modeling. But the reality is that conflict is inevitable in the workplace. We just have to deal with it. Just because it's inevitable doesn't mean it's impossible, right? There are tools. There's a lot of tools out there. Books have been written on this topic, so workshops you can bring in on the topics. You can have other people who are experts come in and sit beside you to help you on these topics. I just want to encourage you, don't let yourself get stuck. And so I just want to encourage you, at your next exit, choose to start the conversation. You have some tools now. You've got some word tracks. You've got some principles to make this a little less anxiety producing, to not get stuck in that rumination, and just say, folks, hey, here's what I need. Let's talk about how we can make that happen. Thank you for your time today. It's been great.
All right.
And so I would ask, the last thing is this, if you would, take a moment, and if I can get some feedback, it'd be great. I do have a download for you at this site that's a tip sheet from today's presentation. We'd love to hear both your feedback and for you to have that tip sheet. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Did everybody get the QR code? Did y'all get it? Because I need to go to another screen real quick. All right. That was wonderful, and I think it was some great information that we can all use. Let's see. All right, here we go. We're gonna go. All right, before we end, everyone, again, we want to thank you all for attending, but I wanted to remind you guys about our next upcoming Lunch, Learn, and Lead with Mr. Kim Beckham. And he is talking about developing leaders, future leaders for your company. So if you incorporate this Lunch, Learn, and Lead along with what he's going to talk about next week, I think you guys will have some good information. So we thank you all for joining us. And like our logo says, if you don't see our sign, keep looking.
Nice.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Alright, very nice. That was good. That's good. And now, you guys, if you want to take the time, if you want to, mix and mingle a little bit and exchange business cards, you're